Good morning, everyone. Friends, a very warm welcome to this panel discussion, Making MOOCs More Accessible. My name is Ali Rizvi, and I serve as the president of VisionAid. And with me is our co-founder of VisionAid, Leti Ramakrishna. On behalf of everyone on VisionAid, I warmly welcome all of you to this panel and enjoy this very important discussion. We have a great group of fine young people from across the country who are panelists. Before we start, I'd like to thank our corporate sponsor, Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare, for the support to VisionAid, which in turn allows us to bring forward such events. And for those who would like to learn more about VisionAid, its programs and model, and Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare, I would you all please join us from 1 to 1:45 p.m. in the breakout session room. I think it's space 1, I believe, in the next room outside. And now it's my honor to introduce the panelists. As I read your name, I request each panelist to please raise your hand briefly for a second so we can see you. And in the interest of time, my introductions are going to be brief. I encourage all of you to please visit their websites or the consular page to know more about the panelists. We are pleased to have Dr. Charles Severance. Also known as Dr. Chuck as our panel chair. And Dr. Chuck is from Michigan State University, is a well-renowned and legendary instructor and has taught over 1.6 million students via Coursera. That's 1.6 million students. His course, Programming for Everyone, is rated one of the top 20 MOOCs in the world by Class Central. Many of our visually impaired students have learned programming from Dr. Chuck's class, which is very, very accessible to all of our students. And Dr. Chuck, thank you so much for traveling from Michigan and joining us today for this wonderful session. Thank you, Dr. Chuck. Keith Marion. Keith Marion is the Director of Inclusion for Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and supports an organization of about 1,200 plus people, employees, where inclusion is a core value and business imperative. In his role as director, Keith is responsible for goal setting and organizational alignment for cross-functional business engagement and growth and innovation. Keith Marion. And we have Ram Raju. He is the founder and volunteer executive director of VisionAid, a non-profit organization serving visually impaired. Ram has more than 25 years experience as a technical architect in the IT industry and has a master's degree in computer science from the Pennsylvania State University. He is currently pursuing his master's degree in information management systems from Harvard University Extension School. Ram is very, very passionate about creating an inclusive environment for persons with vision impairment. And during our breakout session, Ram and will be there in the Think Space 1, I believe, to present a VisionAid model and what we do at VisionAid. So please join us there. I've got 2 more people, and I have Leti talk about those 2 panelists.
Thank you. So it's my pleasure to introduce Aditi Shah. Aditi Shah joins us here from Atlanta. She's a seasoned IT professional and is currently pursuing her master's at Georgia Tech University. And among her technical talents is also a certified ethical hacker. Aditi took advantage of many MOOCs through the VisionAid MOOCs mentoring program and is a valuable perspective to offer as a visually impaired learner. She believes that MOOCs have a great potential to transform the lives of visually impaired students, giving them quality education beyond any barriers that blindness brings. Thanks, Aditi, for traveling from Atlanta to join us today. I also have the pleasure of introducing Karthik Shawni. Karthik Shawni is a software engineer at Microsoft working on the Cortana team. He graduated from Stanford University with a Bachelor of Science and Master of Science in Computer Science last year, focusing on artificial intelligence and human-computer interaction. He's passionate about the intersection of AI and accessibility and has worked on a variety of technical projects in the accessibility space over the years. He's a co-founder at iSTEM, an organization that seeks to promote and support blind students in India pursuing STEM courses and careers through technical training and mentorship. He has not only taken MOOCs as a blind student, but is also running iSTEM's technical training program that integrates with several computer science classes available on these online platforms. Thank you, Karthik, for traveling from Seattle to join us today. And now, without much further ado, it's my pleasure to invite Dr. Chuck to kick off the panel discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you for such a wonderful introduction. I do have to correct, the university that I come from is the University of Michigan, not Michigan State University. It's a common mistake. If you look on the web, you'll find that my universities are tattooed on my shoulder. I am an alumnus of Michigan State University. Perhaps that's what confused you, is I got all my degrees from Michigan State University, and I am a faculty member at the University of Michigan.
My apologies.
So it's my honor, and I'm very humbled to be here. I've been teaching MOOCs since MOOCs started in 2012. I was one of the first 30 instructors to be online. And the word open is part of the word MOOC. And I like to think of open and access as sort of synonyms in this case. And when I built my very first class, I named it For Everybody, right? And when I was thinking of For Everybody, I really was thinking geographically and economically and all these things. And it's turned out that we did a reasonable job of accessibility from the beginning. We weren't experts, we just sort of did the best we could. And it turns out that a lot of good things have happened. And so, while my course, people say my course is accessible, I'm actually, as much as anything, here to learn how to not just make my course meet the letter of the law, but to be a rich, engaging, and wonderful experience for people of all abilities. And so I'm here not so much as an expert. I consider myself lucky to have accomplished what I've done. I tried, but I want to learn more. And so I think the people in this room, I'm looking forward to hearing the talks throughout the day. So I'm mostly listening. So I like to do panels not so boring, where everybody does like a 10-minute keynote speech. I like to be interactive, and so I'll move around pretty quick. I'll let the panelists kind of give a bit of an opening statement, and then I'll actually encourage people in the audience to think about questions or comments that you might have, and we'll have people with microphones coming around. So we'll wait to the very end. I'll try to catch us back up on time to get us out here at 11, so we're back on schedule. So the first question that I'm going to ask the panelists, and I'll ask Aditi first, and then Aditi, talk a little bit about the changes that you've seen. MOOCs have been around in the last 6 years. In what ways have MOOCs changed access to education from your perspective?
According to me, I feel that, especially for people with disabilities, for me, like if I look at myself, it is a lot of logistics when I have to go out of home, travel to XYZ place, and learn. So in that case, I have to worry about so many things. I have to worry about infrastructure and accessibility. I have to worry about how accessible is the content going to be there, whether I have my accommodations that I need to access the content. Whereas with MOOCs, the change that comes in is that I can eliminate all the rest of the logistics, all the rest of challenges, and I can focus only on learning. So I think that's a major change that I see with MOOCs as they grow more and more over these years.
Talk just a little bit about how you went from one career to the current arc of your life in your career. Because you're already working, right?
Yeah. And so I initially pursued my bachelor's and master's in information technology, and then I started working in the area of data security, and that got me really interested in cybersecurity. So I started taking MOOCs online, and I have taken quite a few MOOCs on cybersecurity so far. So I think that really got me started on a very new dimension of my career. It helped me go deeper into a particular niche within computer science. That's the role that MOOCs has played in the way my career has shaped up so far.
Okay, thanks. Carly, I'm going to ask you a question I should have asked you earlier last night. How long have you been doing MOOCs? Were you part of the original 2012 Stanford craziness that sort of started all this, or did you come later?
So no, I started much later. I was introduced to MOOCs as a student at Stanford. We would have a bunch of these split classroom models where we were supposed to watch videos online, hosted on Coursera and other platforms. And then when I started taking these classes and looking at these offerings, I was like, oh, there's a lot more that I can learn than just the immediate classes that I'm taking at school. And so that inspired me to take other classes as well and pursue things that I would actually not even think about as a computer science student. So that's kind of what inspired me to take MOOCs. So I would say probably 2014-ish was when I started.
Okay, let me talk to Keith. Keith, you're in sort of workforce development, sort of both within your organization and from the pipeline. Talk a little bit about how you either are seeing changes in the incoming workforce or anticipated changes in the incoming workforce as MOOCs bring a hopefully more diverse set of potential employees into your workforce.
Fantastic. Thank you for the question, Chuck.
You don't want to put it right by your mouth.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. Fantastic. So, first, let me say that corporations on a whole, at least from my experience, don't have a lot of awareness about MOOCs on a whole. And for me, that creates an access problem, right? If you don't know about it, how do you access it, learn more about it, understand it? That in itself is a drastic change for organizations, at least corporations. Traditional ways of educating staff, offering development programs are still the way that organizations think about that. But I'm happy to say that a lot of organizations are starting to think more innovative about how they source and acquire new talent. Harvard Pilgrim is one of those organizations where we're thinking about ways to expand how we access new talent. And I think that students and people taking MOOCs is a way to do that. And understand that there are a wide variety of different skills that people acquire from that. So I think if organizations start to think more innovative about where they source and find talent and how those skills translate into the workplace, we'll start to see some changes around how persons with visual disabilities are gainfully employed.
So Ron, you've been an advocate for all kinds of, helping people with all kinds of impairments, and particularly people with limited vision. And you've been doing this a long time. Talk about how your ability to accomplish the mission and vision has changed over the years as MOOCs have been sort of become just a tool that you can now apply to the problem that you've been so passionate about for so long.
Thank you, Dr. So we started doing skills training in vision aid to train people with vision-related disabilities. And the traditional or the older ways of doing things was every time you want to teach a subject to someone, you would have to we would have to build a custom course. So we started teaching people basic computers, we started teaching spoken English. There's a lot of effort which goes into course and material development. And then as we became more aware of the power of MOOCs, we started looking to MOOCs because the content is already there, and how do we get our students connected to the content. So it actually makes life a lot easier for us to get our students online into MOOCs. The most recent example, a very happy success, thanks to Dr. Chuck, is that we wanted to teach programming to our visually impaired students. This was about 2 years ago. And since then, we haven't looked back. It's been a very successful effort. We actually expose our students to Dr. Chuck's course, Programming for Everyone. They walk through exactly the same material that students here will walk through, or students at Coursera will walk through. And it's been a fantastic experience because the course is extremely accessible, the material is excellent. And we've trained hundreds of students in programming. And that's just one example. The material is out there. So we see MOOCs as a game changer. We see it as a game changer that the content keeps moving quickly, and so instead of constantly running and trying to develop new content, we just connect our students. So we see ourselves as a catalyst between our students and the MOOCs.
So you brought up my Python course, Python for Everybody. I'm going to ask Karthik and DP to tell us, each of you tell us, because you both took my class, tell us one good thing about the class. And then tell us something that could be improved, and be honest. So Aditi, I'll let you go first. Tell us something good, and then tell us how my course should be improved for people with vision limitations.
The best thing I like about that class is the way the concepts are conveyed. It's like when I took that class, I was already a programmer. Still, I can more confidently say that there were so many concepts that were so innovatively explained that I realized that I had misconceptions about some. So for example, there's a video where Dr. Chuck explains dictionaries, wherein he actually has physical keys connected with tags, and it's like he says when you just shuffle these keys, the tags still remain associated with the keys. So that's how dictionaries are in programming. It's all jumbled up. The order is not necessary, but the keys and their values remain together. So that's something I really liked about the class. Because that lets you imagine, and the way he talks about it, I can actually imagine that in front of my eyes, even without looking at the video, without being able to look at the video. So, I think that's the best way to convey concepts.
Improvements?
I feel like there are some places within the course, at least when I took it, we were supposed to do some assignments and upload screenshots.
Yes.
So I think that's something that I had a challenge with, because I take a screenshot, but I don't know what the screenshot looks like, or whether some of my private emails are visible within that screenshot. So I get a little concerned when I upload that sort of thing.
Did you mention that during the beta testing? Because people have come to me and told me that. You're not the first person that told me that I gotta fix that. So Karthik, tell us some cool things just done well technically and place for improvement.
Yeah, I think the thing that I like best about the course is not so much around accessibility or anything technical, right? It's kind of like echoing what Aditi said, right? I think the best thing that I like about the course is something that everyone else likes about the course, which is how engaging it is. And it's really, thinking through programming, not just by having this one long document, which just talks me through, this is what loops are, and just showing me a couple of examples. I think the fact that there's a lot of parallels drawn between things that people can relate to in daily life, and then try and apply that to the programming world is something that I really appreciate. and I really liked. But actually, that very specific thing also could, in some sense, be a challenge, right? Because now we're talking about some of the things that we come across in daily life. And while it's easy to understand a couple things, it sometimes is also like some visualization that's happening. That's of course there in the video, but then I need to again try and visualize whatever is being said. So I think actually being able to be exposed to that actual physical artifact or whatever the other people are seeing would have just made it even more engaging for me as a learner, as opposed to just kind of understanding it and visualizing it more abstractly.
Thank you. I'll tell you what my hardest part is as a teacher is that I wish, because when I teach face-to-face, I get to somehow watch the students learn, and I can't watch, I don't have enough students with visual limitations that I can watch them learn. And it's kind of like the design thing we heard about in the keynote, is that I really just want to watch people use my product, and I want to figure out how to fix my product. And the one thing that Aditi mentioned was, and last night at dinner, she made it very, very clear. And I was like, how do I explain a diagram? And she said, talk an alt tag, right? Speak the alt tag for the diagram. Don't say this, don't say that, don't say here, and don't say there. And that's actually really a simple thing for a professor to keep in the back of their mind about this, that, here, and there are like code words, like never say those words because that's a visual thing, right? And so just sitting at dinner last night, I was able to learn a new technique. And these techniques are not techniques for me that are like in the law, right? Because the law only gets you so far. And this PDF, right? I'll ask it, is PDF solve all the problems? No, right. But legally, we're told, oh, for the law, let's make PDF. And so for me, this is where the and the iteration as an engineer is so important for me. So I'll switch back to Keith. Talk Keith a bit about you're going to be seeing incoming employees with lots of different credentials, right? And in a sense, visual impairment is just one of many different sort of use cases of an educational system where people will begin to assemble their own experiences. And how do you see companies learning how to understand and parse these new credentials?
So, first of all, I think organizations need to be thinking about credentials differently. For instance, there's been discussion around folks starting to think about removing requirements from job descriptions. Just requirements for universities, requirements for certificates, and looking more at the person's experiences and background as a way to understand how to create high-performing teams. And I think that that's a step towards providing access to equitable employment opportunities for folks who complete WIC programs, right? Right now, what we see is a barrier between folks who complete these programs and not have traditional diplomas, traditional certificates that employers are used to seeing. So if we can start to change that dynamic by removing some of the barriers to that, I think that we'll see some improvements. In addition to that, organizations need to be willing to interview these people who complete these programs, realizing that they're not utilizing the access that they have to really bright new talent. And I think that that's one of the things that organizations can do is kind of change and assess their own policies around hiring practices. And we're starting to see that now.
So Ron, I'm gonna throw a tiny challenge out and see what your reaction is to it. As a professor of 1.6 million students, and I can't see them, I can't watch them. I wish somehow, especially for students with limited vision, that I could get feedback. And I'll tell you the most useful feedback that I've got so far is from Sonal, who is a mentor, right, a not vision impaired mentor, because she is tasked with translating the parts that I didn't get right. And I don't know how to get to the point where we, in the creation of this educational material, can get the feedback from the right people, but think about pushing upstream and getting us to give you better materials. Have you thought about that? What do you think are the problems there? Does the law get in the way, or does the law help? Because oftentimes when a university sees someone talking about accessibility walking in the door, they're like, uh-oh, it's going to be a bad day, right? As compared to me, I think it's going to be a good day. So talk a little bit about influencing and changing us.
Yeah, I think this is a place where Visionate and really any other organization which is helping learners, ISTEM, you mentioned ISTEM, they have another organization which is mentoring students. They can play a valuable role between the students and the providers. And even within the providers, you have remote platforms, and you also have the faculty, people like yourself. And I think we can play a valuable role in gathering feedback, consolidating it, sorting through what we think could be useful, and bringing it to your attention. And we already started doing that to some extent informally, but I think we can look to formalizing it, creating it in a more structured manner. And from the perspective of the remote providers and the faculty members, perhaps organize it a little better. And if you had some interface whereby we could submit feedback, we'd be happy to look into it. I think that would be a really valuable input on board.
I know at my university, in my school, that'd be very well received. Right? We're in the middle of building a brand new master's degree that's fully online. And we're literally starting from scratch, and we wish we could be informed. I mean, we know what the law is, and I've mentioned before, the law it's just a starting point, and what we'd like to do is, and so we'd like to have some understanding of what's the best way to do this, and that changes all the time. I mean, the new technology is available, and all of a sudden, what you thought was the right way to make something maximally accessible, maximally usable, isn't anymore. So that's part of it. Is we don't know the technology and what's the best practice at any given moment. Just is always moving because it's getting better and better. So yeah. So like last night at dinner, Garthy barely got to eat because I was just asking him technical question after technical question after technical question about SVG and marked up SVG and which SVG is the best and is PowerPoint good, but is an export from this. And he didn't get to eat, right? And I don't think that's fair. Well, he was happy. Just like the first blind programmer I meet, I'm gonna chain him to a chair and just talk to him for hours and hours and hours. So I think that we gotta come up with a more sustainable way to get feedback. And I think outside of a lawsuit, I think we have to, I think that we have to be ready and receptive to this kind of constructive criticism to make things better. We got about 20 minutes left, and so if there are people in the audience that sort of want to contribute, maybe ask a question or make a comment, raise your hand and we'll get a microphone. I'll bring you in. We'll get microphones. I won't call on you right away, although maybe I will. So we got one here.
I'm Jeff Whitten.
Yeah, Jeff.
My question's a kind of high-level one. I think 10 years from now, you can get a full bachelor's degree, full master's degree, most degrees online, or some equivalent across all the subjects you want. Is that going to bite us? I mean,
I love it. And that was actually one of my questions I was going to ask the panel.
In civil rights, domain, we run into this notion of separate but equal, and we're going to bump into it eventually with MOOCs. So how would you deal with that? What are your initial thoughts? The real framing question to me is, I had this thought that I picked up early in my career, which is that intelligence is gathered socially, and there is social interaction online, certainly. It's different than in person, and I think that the nuance of how it's different is going to become increasingly important as we have these more options. I think there's going to be a day, someday, when states say, we don't want to pay for your in-person education, we want you to do it online because it's cheaper. And if that's going to bite people, I want to know about that now.
So I think that's a perfect question, Aditi, for you, because you spent some of your education kind of not in social situations, and now you're at Georgia Tech, right? You've just been there a little while, but you can be more embedded with people at Georgia Tech in ways that perhaps in your earlier education you haven't. So think about the idea of the extent to which your education was with and close to people, and the extent to which your education kind of was by yourself. Talk a little bit about that, and should we get to the point where everyone can learn by themselves? I know that's a long question.
So what I feel is that, it makes a lot of difference thinking accessibility as part of design, like we discussed in the keynote. So, like even right now, I'm at Georgia Tech, and I am studying a program on campus which is getting launched as an online master's degree starting 2019. So what I feel is when I am at Georgia Tech and I am facing accessibility issues, I can actually work with my professors and get it sorted, right? Wherever I feel that I'm stuck, I can tell them, like, give me some alternatives, or fix this for me. This doesn't work for me. Whereas if I imagine that I would be doing the same course online, that becomes a bit of a challenge to get the accessibility sorted being remote. So I think having accessibility not incorporated as a part of these online degrees would make the life really difficult for visually impaired students that way. So I think there it becomes much more important to incorporate accessibility as we go towards that.
Thanks. Keith, I'm gonna send Jeff's question to you as well, and that is, we often mistakenly titles social skills as soft skills as if they're somehow, sort of not all that important. But what do you think from a workforce development of all your employees walk in and they got all this knowledge about like data mining, cube-based databases and stuff like that, and they really never spend any time with any other human beings? What do you think about that? What do you think about that? And maybe that becomes a challenge. Jeff's sort of, a lot of people said that, right? We can automate it all. Artificial intelligence will solve everything. You as a person who's interacting between your organization, Harvard Pilgrim, and the workforce, I'm trying to scare you. That's what I'm trying to do.
Well, I think, first of all, organizations, sorry about that. I think, first of all, organizations are focused on the talent and skill that folks bring. The technical acumen is really what organizations are looking for. Some of the softer skills, organizations like mine are great at helping folks to navigate that. So I think the technical skills are the driver here. The softer skills are important. However, they're not the deciding factor. I think organizations are getting more skilled at providing supports. At Harvard Program, we have what we call WORK, which is a Workplace Accommodation Resource Committee, where we make sure that all of our folks with disabilities are supported and have an opportunity to feel engaged in the workplace. So it's something that can be worked on. So it's key.
And would you say supported both in sort of the social context as well as sort of the skill context?
Oh, certainly. We have resource groups that are designed to support different populations across the organization. So they receive a lot of attention and direct engagement, which I think is necessary.
Great. So we have another question. Let's go with you. And, do you have your microphone? No? Well, you're going to have one really quick.
My name is PJ Gardner. My question, actually, I have to back up a long way, which is, I'd never heard the term MOOC before I walked in here today. So I'm going to sort of maybe speak for some other people here. I have, however, been hired by companies to help them make their online coursework accessible. So what's the difference, is my basic question. Because I've been working on the online courseware to try and make it more open.
Yeah, I would say that there's similarities and differences. So if you're talking about a traditional online course where you're charging significant tuition and trying to make it as a profit center for the university, and you will encounter students, and in that you'll have some number of students with disabilities. And this sort of, DT was talking about this on campus. Each one is treated as an individual in the accommodations. You can kind of figure out what problem you need to solve. The thing, and MOOCs are in some ways not that different. We use the same techniques. But in MOOCs, you have to sort of anticipate in advance. With 1.6 million students, you don't know, oh, here's the 4 students that need accommodations this semester, and oops, we didn't do this, so we can hire a person to narrate. And so with MOOCs, people are 10,000 miles away, and you don't even know them, and they're not even going to complain to you. They're not going to raise a hand at all. So I think that's kind of the big difference. It's not, but the techniques are the same. And so does anyone have any comments about the difference between sort of making an on-campus class accessible and MOOC accessible? Oh, I got a comment from the audience, that's okay. Turn it on.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I'm the one on the campus that I work on that actually is the point person, right, that works with students in distance ed who have disabilities, works with distance ed and makes sure that things are accessible. So we work together with the designers, we work together with the students, we set up the teams long, before the classes start. And it's not just students who have visually impairments that we have to work with, it's a lot of different students with a lot of different impairments. So that's one of the issues. And then when it comes to the MOOCs, you have to have that same open door policy. You have to make sure that things are really well designed beforehand. And you have to make sure that you have somebody on campus that is there, that you have that open door policy, that you have somebody that you come to, that you talk to, that you work with, that has both a technical background and an understanding, as well as an understanding of the disability background, an understanding of what is needed. And that is where the two of them come together. And more universities are getting these kinds of point people in order to make sure. So the question that you asked, is it going to come and bite us? Hopefully not, because people are aware that this is what is needed. And yes, there are certain legal issues that are going on, but more and more people are aware if we are going to build these kinds of programs, we are going to have to take this into consideration.
Yeah, I agree that I hope in most places we're moving from a reactive to a thing where it's more part of the culture, right?
Yes, we have to be proactive.
And we have to, because if I'm a teacher and I'm recording a lecture and I'm pointing at something and I use the example of this, you can't really, the law can't fix that. But if I'm aware and I have a culture, then all the little things that we do in addition to the big things.
Well, I'll give you an example. We've just had a visually impaired student do a course on cartoons, and it was superheroes in film. And we had to spend months working with her, working with the developer, and we're actually looking to set up, to go and talk somewhere about this, because this was a real collaboration around the university and how to actually make something accessible. Looking at all the different parts, it was a huge teamwork.
Could I then ask you a challenge question?
Yes.
Would you give that away for free?
I think eventually we would. Yes.
That's the wrong answer, I'm sorry. Right? I mean,
Would we share how we did it for free? Is that the question?
no, would you give it away for free so that every other school? So, I mean, that's not intended to be mean, it's intended, the one thing that my course has affected so many people in a positive way is from the very first day, because I have DNA and open source software. Every single thing I do is given away for free, not even non-commercial.
If I was the boss, maybe I would.
Yeah, so culture always wins, right? And I'm not being critical, right? I'm raising awareness that freedom leads to accessibility, the ability to take my materials and adapt them. No one has to ask permission to adapt my materials, right? And so the hair on the back of my head, as we're describing that, as a teacher, I want to thank you. I don't teach superhero classes, but I'm like, isn't it wonderful that someone is putting that much effort into making my class relevant to all these teachers? wow, how about the other 100,000 people or million people in the world that would just love a superhero class with accessible materials, right?
Wait, it was actually a point of discussion every.
Yeah.
every
Okay.
time we meeting, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, go
I have
ahead.
a point to
Go
make.
ahead,
I think it's actually more powerful when you're trying to create when you're trying to make MOOCs more accessible than real world, like just on-campus classrooms, and that's kind of like hinting back to whatever everyone just mentioned, right? Because in the MOOC, it's not only about making certain material accessible and then handing that material over to a student who needs an accommodation, and this is only something that the disability office will be doing, but not necessarily the professor. Because, you know, as a student, I have had to like work very, very less with the professor, if at all, like at any point. Everything is taken care of by the Disability Center. Whereas that is certainly not going to work. Going back to, for example, Olivia's example around screenshots, right? I think there's just like a lot more to it than just saying, okay, well, you know, you have X, Y, Z accommodations. I, as a disability counselor or accommodation manager, am going to like approve these and make sure that you get these. And our office independently will work with you to deliver that. And you have note takers in the class. We have all these services in the class. You just can't do that. You know, that involves, you know, right when the course is being designed, with each and every module. And I think, you know, the part around, like, you know, there being a lot of collaboration right from that stage until the course is delivered to how the exams are being offered, whether the whole platform is accessible, whether the whole methodology is accessible. Like, a lot of that are these additional parameters that need to be considered that are not supposed, you know, that are not that critical when you're thinking about on-campus classrooms. So I think in some sense, if you really want to like sensitize professors, I think MOOCs is the way to go.
So if I can just add,
go ahead.
So just to tie in the discussion and mention one thing which is really working well for us originally at the moment, this may also work for everyone, is this mentorship model. So we connect students to the MOOCs, but every student is assigned a mentor. So we have a large network of mentors. And these mentors are helping to bring that human connection one-on-one.
Talk about the mechanics, the technical mechanics of what they do, they Zoom, right? Talk a little bit about that.
So just to give an example with your class, the Programming for Everyone class, we have a network of about 30 mentors, all seasoned programmers from Python. And we have students, you know, many of them living in India, and the mentors get together with the students once a week. They have online classes over Zoom or Skype. They make sure that the students are following the material, they're not having difficulties. If there are accessibility issues, they bring it into us, and then we meet once a week. All mentors meet once a week, and we try to solve the problems first at our level, and then Sonal is one of those mentors. And if we are not able to solve it, then we bring it up to the MOOCs. So this is a model which works well for us. To some extent, it also addresses what Jeff was saying, you know, that, you know, when you're talking about equivalency between full-time courses versus online courses on MOOCs, I think adding the human element could certainly help, because now you're suddenly bringing this flavor of human interaction between the students and the faculty. Whereas you are teaching 1.6 million students, our network of 30 mentors is now becoming a bridge between your class. In effect, they're becoming your teaching assistants to our students. So it works well for us.
I'd say it works well for me as well. Quick comment, we're almost out of time, so make your comment.
My name is Narayan Bhatia. I've been associated with the Visionaire from their very foundation, from the beginning. So congratulations to Visionaire for coming forward so long, so much. My question is really, many people have commented on the online use of MOOCs and Python and other languages and the problems with it and what can be done. But we really have no choice with the cost of higher education going up so much, $70,000 a year. I mean, since when we have to start saving, from how much, from where? So we have no choice but to merge the full education with online education. Whether it comes from the university or comes from programs like yours, you have no choice. All the issues, the whole money is there, a lot of money in the world. It has to be reprogrammed to go in merging these two ways of learning. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you. At my university, University of Michigan, we're a public university, and we consider it part of our core mission to educate millions of people, even though we don't have a campus that can fit millions of people, and share what we generate as knowledge with everybody, right? And I'm not the only one. I mean, it's sort of part of our culture. And you're right, it is a social, society, government, NGO imperative to teach everybody. So, okay, we're okay. Let's go, Jeff. You got a quick comment?
Just one comment. So, from a platform perspective, these partners, the schools that are making the courses, tend to have accessibility and expertise, but it's a little bit uneven between different schools. Some people have expertise on particular things, so they get stuck sometimes. There are these subcontractors that help the partners set up their courses online. Those subcontractors right now, they need to learn a lot about accessibility. But what I want to bring to all of your attention is, if you want to be a specialist in making courses accessible, there's a screaming need for that right now to help those middle companies in the middle. It's going to grow very rapidly right now. So if you want to get on that path, I can help you with that.
And I would say that both edX and Coursera are really good at helping even out some of the inconsistency.
But it doesn't scale very well. I can't do it all. I'm just saying,
but at least every school is told, wait a sec, you got to do this too. Everyone else is doing it. So that I think that's a healthy way to bring folks up.
Right.
So you got a quick comment?
Yes, just probably not a comment, but I
Turn the microphone toward you.
Right by your mouth.
Yeah, I actually see edX is represented here, and my question is something that really bothers me every day. When I talk to MOOCs, I attend lots of research talks at MIT continuously, and I talk to Aditi and Karthik, people like them, continuously, and they're continuous trouble with getting accessible material. And now my question is, edX and Coursera and everybody is right now promoting very wholeheartedly to make education cheaper, accessible, available for everyone and everywhere, cheaper master's degree from the great schools. And especially I want to bring up Georgia Tech. There is a master's degree program on edX that's coming up in edX, and it's almost starting. And Aditi is still struggling to get accessible material. So I can assume that even the online degree will be completely accessible for visual impaired. So currently she is actually helping her professors to learn to make the edX master's program accessible for visual impaired. And my question now is that how much of importance is given by MOOC providers in making this master's program more popular, and the accessibility education of providing accessible material by third party who provide different tools, professors who teach those courses, etc. And is there any guideline or anything that is provided for professors and developers that we may have, only 0.5% of our population could be blind or visually impaired? And is it worth your time to really pay and do a good empathetic teaching? And I must say, this is just a thinking question. You may not even answer at this time, but I must say that probably many teachers can learn a lot from Dr. Chuck. He could be a master teacher, and if I have to give a Nobel Prize in education as a teacher, I have heard many really great teachers, but Dr. Chuck, I would say, even when he does use the word see and show, but the way he talks in a metaphorical way, just like key and tag, Aditi doesn't see the key. She doesn't see the tag, but she still understands. So that kind of teaching is a MOOC teaching, and which also needs the education with, I'm not sure if all the MOOC providers are focusing on training of MOOC teachers.
Yeah, I have a quick point. So I think, when you're talking about platforms like X or Coursera, I think there's actually a really awesome opportunity that I see to somehow standardize some of that process. All of us are aware of websites, for example, in the cloud, that would basically convert one document format to the other, do like some sort of automation there, and especially with, for example, AI being there, and all the success that we've seen with OCR. I mean, I don't say that OCR is perfect by any means, but potentially platforms where they combine the power of automation and perhaps crowdsourcing in a nice way. Where, sure, a certain school in India or Brazil or where have you might not necessarily have the knowledge to make something accessible because they've never had a disability department in the past. They're only offering their content, but I really see like a great opportunity now that we're using a common platform to provide these offerings to potentially think about how some of that stuff can be done, going beyond just the platform, but potentially also doing research, also coming up with platforms that supplement these mainstream platforms where these schools could leverage not just documentation or guidelines, but actually something more than that. Like frameworks, like hands-on things that they can use to make their content more accessible.
Carthy is right. That was a long answer to your question, Saul. The answer is yes. And the reason it's yes is that everything that you do to make something more accessible for a person with visual challenges makes it more accessible to artificial intelligence, to search engines, to a zillion, and it actually makes it a better class for people who don't have visual impairments. So the answer is, it's worth it, and for me, it's always been worth it. So we got one last person who wants to say something, and then we're going to let you go. 5 minutes later, here you go. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm sick.
That's a funny one.
Yes, wipe this after. I currently work in higher education, but I was in K-12 for about 13 years, and I still spend time with K-12 schools, and I do wonder about the implications of online courses constantly, with especially seeing students coming up from K-12. I work with students with disabilities on my current campus, and a lot of courses, even in flipped style, have been really difficult for students with intellectual disabilities who are on our campus. So I do wonder about how we as higher ed institutions can do a better job transitioning our K-12 students into our systems that are changing more quickly than theirs are, and educating those teachers as well about this change. Because I can tell you, from being in so many different K-12 schools across many different states and varied socioeconomic status, it doesn't really matter. A lot of them are unaware.
So, I'm sorry, you don't get a break. We're going to cancel the next session. We're going to talk for 2 hours about that.
Chuck, we have one more question.
Okay, my daughter's a K-5 special ed teacher, so I am very close to this. Let's just get one last comment or question. Let's wrap up so we get some break.
So my name is Becky Gibson, and I think we're coming about this from the wrong point of view. We say we need to make these classes accessible. No, we need to train people to build accessibility from the start, and that's the biggest problem. We really need to get that empathy, that understanding into our programming classes, so it's not a second thought. And it's a hard thing. And there's curriculum things, and I know there's legal requirements, but I mean, I know Teach Access is looking towards that, but anyway, that's my goal in life.
3 years ago, I was very fortunate. I met a student named Megan. She came to my on-campus class. First day, I got a blind student. I'm like, this is the greatest day ever that I have a blind student in my class. Now I'm going to get all the support I need from the university. We did so much fun stuff. We did Braille diagrams. We used those little stylus thing to make architecture. And so at least for me, I'm acculturated to think of that as a positive opportunity to rethink what I'm teaching. But ultimately, I think it comes down to doing all this from a position of joy rather than a position of sort of extra work or extra responsibility. But if you're a teacher, hopefully you're bringing joy into that classroom and making the material accessible for all. But I do want to wrap up and thank all of our panelists and thank, Are you gonna? Okay.
Well, thank you everyone for joining this wonderful interactive session. On behalf of Vision 8, first of all, we have a nominee for a Nobel Prize. So we'd like to give, on behalf of Vision 8 to all our panelists, a small token of appreciation. So I request Brenda Cole, the Vice President of Market Inclusion at Houghton Healthcare, to please do the honors.
How could he forget that?
No, I didn't forget that.
But he said Michigan State University. But they said it was hockey.
Yeah. So Aditi Shah is the first. Ravi, can you take a picture of the camera too? That's Aditi Shah. Next panelist is Karthik Sani. Brenda, yeah. From one friend to the other, Keith, Ryan, Ram Raju, founder of Vision 8, of course. And now the nominee himself, Dr. Chuck. And one more applause for this wonderful dress that Brenda is wearing.